This reading is from Rays of the One Light by Swami Kriyananda, parallel commentaries on the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita. This week's topic is the redeeming light. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda. The book of Isaiah in the Bible, chapter 9, tells us, "The people that walked in darkness have seen a great light. They that dwell in the land of the shadow of death, upon them hath the light shined." What is this light of which so many scriptures speak? In Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramhansa Yogananda, we read of an early experience the Master had with that light. I was blessed about the age of 8 with a wonderful healing through the photograph of Lahiri Mahashaya. This experience gave intensification to my divine love. While at our family estate in Ichapur, Bengal, I was stricken with Asiatic cholera. My life was despaired of. The doctors could do nothing. At my bedside, Mother frantically motioned me to look at Lahiri Mahashaya's picture on the wall above my head. Bow to him mentally. She knew I was too feeble even to lift my hands in salutation. If you really show your devotion and inwardly kneel before him, your life will be spared. I gazed at his photograph and saw there a blinding light enveloping my body and the entire room. My nausea and other uncontrollable symptoms disappeared. I was well. At once I felt strong enough to bend over and touch Mother's feet in appreciation of her immeasurable faith in her Guru. Mother pressed her head repeatedly against the little picture. O omnipresent Master, I thank thee that thy light hath healed my son. I realized that she too had witnessed the luminous blaze through which I had instantly recovered from a usually fatal disease. Swami Kriyanandaji continues now, "Where my light is, God once told a saint, whom the divine light had healed, no darkness can dwell." The divine light, pure, calm, liberating, is the only final cure for every kind of delusion, ill health, emotional grief, spiritual ignorance. Seek it daily in the silence, in deep meditation. As the Bhagavad Gita says in the 5th chapter, "For whom that darkness of the soul is chased by light, splendid and clear shines manifest the truth, as if a sun of wisdom sprang to shed its beams of light." Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om, Om, Om. It's a beautiful story that we just heard from Autobiography of a Yogi of Master's healing through that photograph of Lahiri Mahashaya. And it comes very early on in the book, obviously. It was happened during his early childhood. And I know when I read that, that's one of the first miracles mentioned in the book. The first one is when Lahiri Mahashaya appears in a wheat field to scold Master's father for being too hard on his employee, who was himself a disciple of Lahiri Mahashaya. That's how Master's parents went to visit Lahiri Mahashaya and became his disciples as well. But Master then shares his own experience with this photograph of Lahiri Mahashaya. And I remember when I read that in Autobiography of a Yogi for the first time, it really struck me because it was hard for me to accept the miracles of Autobiography of a Yogi. And yet at the same time, it was hard for me to believe that Yogananda could lie. And so I didn't really know how to reconcile these two sort of, I wouldn't say contradictory, but opposing viewpoints. The truth was that in time I had to just accept that if he couldn't lie, that means he was telling the truth, which means these miracles happened. But it was more than just a intellectual convincing. It was a convincing that took place in my heart. I just felt the goodness of the author. I felt the purity, the upliftment of his consciousness as much as I was able to. Any of us, we can only sort of perceive as according to our own capacity. It's sort of like you can only drink water according to your level of thirst. And you can only see into the distance according to the clarity of your vision, your eyes. And so in the same way, with spiritual perception, or any perception, but spiritual perception, we can only perceive according to the quality of the instrument. And so in this case, the instrument is the heart. It's really, it's with our heart that we understand. And even if we don't have words, even if our intellect feeds our heart, I was talking to someone who said, I don't go by heart, I go by intellect, because I prefer to go that way. And I said, well, even preferring to go by intellect is a preference of the heart. You know, why should you like one thing or another? Likes and dislikes all come from the heart. So in other words, not to tell a person, you are going by heart, I prefer to go by, no, you go by heart. It's not to argue, it's to say, why not go by both? You know, why not use all of our faculties? To go by the mind and to ignore the heart is like going through life with just one hand. When you have two, why not use both? You know, it's very hard to play the harmonium with one hand. You need someone else to pump it for you. And they have to wear a mask, and they can't keep the appropriate social distancing, so better to just use your own two hands. You see, it really, why cut ourselves short? We really limit our power of perception and our power of energy output when we limit the heart. Alternatively, do we need the mind? Yes, to a certain extent we do, and a case could be made for that. I don't want to make it here. But because one of the reason is that no matter what we do with the mind follows the heart. If our heart is upset, we find all the reasons in the world to prove that we are upset. Not that we are upset, we know that, to prove why we have every right to be upset. If we're in a bad mood, we see more reasons to reinforce that. When we're in a good mood, we see, oh, well, at least this worked out, or could be worse, even if lots of things are going wrong. We still find cause, intellectual cause, to explain our good mood. Really, it's of the heart. The mind always follows the heart. And so it's good then to get the heart in line. And this is especially true when we're talking about spiritual perception. We want to enlarge our heart. We want to increase our capacity to feel, to perceive, any way that we can. And this, it was, as Master said, he thanked his mother for what? For, thanks, Mom, for knowing a saint who could heal me. And what did his mother do? Say, Lahiri Mahashai, you know, we waited in line, we took our token, and now it's our turn, and please heal my son. You know, it wasn't just some exchange. It wasn't a transaction, you know. And it was, he said, I thanked her for her devotion to her guru. Master explained and also understood that it was because of her devotion to her guru that this blessing came, that this light came. And so, why is that? Is Lahiri Mahashaya sitting in Benares going, well, let's see, you want me to heal your son, but how much devotion have you shown? Have you shown enough to merit one healing? And if I give you this healing, will you show more devotion? Can I expect an increase in some of the devotion coming my way? Of course not. And does he also get 2 requests from devotees? And this one, well, they have devotion, so I like them better. This is one thing that people make the mistake so often on the spiritual path in dealing with the guru, thinking that he prefers someone over me. And the guru's heart is infinite. The Guru's consciousness is infinite. A self-realized master is one with God. And so he has room for everyone, which means he has room for you. And no one else can take that spot. For example, Master said to Dr. Lewis, he said, remember, God loves you just as much as he loves me. And he said at another time, God loves Jesus Christ the same as he loves Krishna, the same as he loves you, any devotee. You see? It isn't that people, in the human world, we like people according to to put it frankly, according to how much they please us. This is what Sri Yukteswarji said. The only reason people will love you, he said to Yogananda Ji, is according to whether you are useful to them. And you may find this sometimes is where a hurt can come in friendship, where we may feel we have given our friendship, our love, unconditionally, and then we may feel or like to imagine that same friendship returned to us. But if we suddenly cease to please this person, I don't even mean we do something wrong that upsets them. I just mean we don't give them what they want. Even just sort of, we don't answer the phone when they call, not that we even withhold something. But if they ask and they don't get, and suddenly they remove their friendship, or they love a little less, or we have something that they want and they take it, saying, I don't really care if you're my friend, I need this, and I don't even see you as I just swipe and grab it. Then we can feel a certain level of hurt. It's natural. I would say it's good to feel that hurt. It's a sign of tender-heartedness. It's the price of loving. Swami Kriyananda Ji said that is the price of loving, is getting hurt. But the alternative, to avoid paying that price, to avoid feeling hurt, I will just not feel anymore. I will keep my heart closed, and I will also step back from friendship. And always keep people just at a distance, a safe distance. Well, you know what happens when you keep everybody at a distance? You know who does that as a career? A prisoner in a jail cell. That's what we end up being, just in a jail cell of our own emotions, our own loneliness, you see. Now, I don't mean that the goal of life is to interact with everybody outwardly. The goal is to find God. If you can be in a jail cell happily, cheerfully, closer to God, then more power to you. So anyway, as I was saying, though, we may feel we are giving that love unconditionally, and then this person is giving it conditionally, and suddenly they're in a mood, or they're upset with us, and they're mad, and we're not, but we are hurt. The thing is, are we really loving them unconditionally? To really be loving unconditionally means I love you without the condition of how you treat me, with how you feel towards me, with how you behave towards me. My love is just the same. That's a tall order. Because isn't it true? We may love a person because in their presence we feel uplifted. Or we have finally someone to share our joy and enthusiasm with. This is especially true on the spiritual path, where this thing that is so precious to us is something we can talk about with so few people. Not so much once you join a spiritual family, once you return to your guru's home, but even then. And so we may feel that upliftment in their presence, as I said, and then if they withdraw, we may feel, oh, that upliftment is taken from me. But are we really feeling uplifted from them? Or to put it differently, could we feel uplifted from them if we didn't have that upliftment already, that capacity at least? You see, a lot of the time what we are really enjoying is ourselves. We're not necessarily receiving love from someone, we are just feeling love itself in our own hearts. It's kind of funny in a way that people seek love so much in another person, when really they can only love that person according to their capacity to feel love, and love is what they want to feel. And when you meditate, for example, you can start to feel that love just inside yourself. That's usually not the first step. The first step is peace, just to feel a relief from the different emotions and tensions and even physical tensions and worries, and also just the regathering of our faculties, also the centering of our energy, even withdrawing it from the senses to replenish our inner kingdom, our inner world, our spine, and so on. The nerves get drained by the constant energy pouring out of them, and our energy gets drained too. The nerves, I should say, get burned out. And so when we withdraw that, as we do every night in sleep, that's passively. But if we do it consciously, deliberately in meditation, it's very rejuvenating. And much more so than just sleep, which tends to work a little bit on the physical, a little bit on the mental, sometimes on the emotional level. Not on the spiritual very well. You can have a spiritual dream, I guess, but even then it will be because of the spiritual work you did when you were awake. So again, when we realize that my job is just to give love, and in that giving I will be, as Master said, purified. The channel is blessed, he said, by that which flows through it. And so as we give love, that love will also heal us. And we can be selective. If you go to someone and they're just not interested, or they were interested but now they've changed their minds, then maybe you give your energy more to somebody who does want it, who does want to interact. We have to do this sometimes when our friendships change and we end up talking more to somebody who's positive and friendly and cheerful and wants to talk, and we give less energy to someone who doesn't want it, or doesn't want it in the right way. Some people may want to suck the energy out of us. They may want to pull the life out of us like a vampire, but it isn't healthy to just feed them your blood. They have to learn, I won't say they have to learn how to drink their own blood. I think that takes the image a little bit too far. No image is perfect, and especially that one. But the point is that everyone has to feed himself, you see. Someone can't say, once you eat idlis, nobody else can eat them. They have to eat their own idlis. I won't take that image any further. And so it's ridiculous to turn to someone and say, can you feed me? I've thought about it as, we're all children of God. And so can you imagine two children at the dinner table, young children, waiting for Amma or Appa to bring the food, and one child turns to the other and says, hey, you feed me. And the other children says, Nane, I don't have any food. How can I feed you? I'm waiting too. And so even if we eat the food, then someone says, well, give me the food you just had. And as I explained, that's not possible. And so just look to the mother or the father. Look to the source of the food. Don't look to our compatriots, our colleagues, our brothers and sisters, not in arms, but at the table. It's silly. Another image is at the restaurant. Imagine that you're sitting in a restaurant and you've placed your order and you're waiting for it. Well, imagine a safe restaurant with masks everywhere and all these other things. You can hearken back to the ancient days when we used to have restaurants and go and sit in them, and someone would sneeze and no one would care. And so you imagine you've placed your order. You would like one roast dosa with extra masala, maybe a Mysore roast dosa with maybe a little... Anyway, never mind. I don't want to take this image further just for my own sake because it's been a while. Craving that roast dosa. And then maybe you had a little something else or whatever. Then imagine someone else comes in the door, sits down at your table and says, I'd like a few uttapams and maybe some chai and avial. And you say, I'm glad for you. Do you want to tell the waiter? No, you get it for me. It's ridiculous. No, I'm just the same as you. I am not the source of the food. Talk to the people who give the food. We are just in this together. And so when somebody wants to pull too much from you, that's what they're doing. And so realize that and don't let them, because it doesn't help them. Just as you can't feed somebody else, there's no point in trying. You can talk to them for 3 hours on the phone until they cheer up for 5 minutes. As soon as you turn your back, I don't mean to be unkind and uncaring. It's impossible to make a point without acknowledging the opposite point. That's how the spiritual path is. The truth is always in the middle. But if you end up hedging every statement, you end up saying nothing. So leaving that aside. Similarly, if you want to suck the life out of someone, it is this person that I need, I have to have from. Remember, you're just trying to take the idlis out of their mouth. Forget it. Get your own idlis. You have an endless supply of idlis from God. Divine Mother is always dropping idlis into our hands, into our pockets, chutney too. And so we just don't have to seek elsewhere. It's wonderful to share the path with friends, but don't try to feed on your friends. When you're enjoying a meal with them, don't also try to eat them too. You see? When you feel, I must have, or this person has denied me, or I want friendship, but especially from you, I deserve it. Well, it's just the flip side of what I've been saying. Nobody can fill that hole in our hearts for us. No one. Only God. Which is to say also only ourselves. Because even if they do, even if they give us everything and shower us with love and please us in every moment, which never happens, ultimately we will be separated if only by death. Either theirs or ours. And then what? You see? So find somebody else to feed upon? No. So look to feed yourself because you can. In fact, it's your only job in this world is to learn how to be strong in yourself, how to fill yourself with joy. Get your own mask on, as it says on the airplanes, before oxygen mask, before helping someone else. And so keep this in mind, that again, if somebody asks that of you, it's not even right. It's not healthy to help them to continue to feed upon you, your energy, your emotional support inordinately. It doesn't help them. It's sort of like coddling a child when the child is 55. It's probably about time to let them have a go on their own. On the other hand, I remember a letter someone wrote to Sister Gyanamata saying, my son is so terrible and he doesn't do this and he does that wrong and I've, told him this but he won't do it and please, give me some advice and he's so horrible. And Sister Gyanamata wrote, well, if the son is behaving so badly, whose job was it to train him? Look no further than yourself. I am not saying that, she said it, but you see, she was very strong and very clear in that. She was very loving too, but she could cut to the chase because this mother was being too critical and absolving herself of any responsibility. It is true, sometimes children are just wild. They just are. And it's a particular test given to us by God. And sometimes devotees have that in their lives, whether children or spouses or parents or whatever. They have somebody who's just not reasonable and won't be, because they're there. That person is there to test us, to help us to grow. As Swamiji said, you need a strop to sharpen your blade against. I don't mean your weapon. I just mean your patience, your clarity of thinking. Somebody who may constantly challenge your views. Well, sometimes that can be helpful for clarifying your own thinking. You see? Because truth is truth. It should be able to stand up to scrutiny. As Swamiji often said, truth is not afraid of questions. It's a very helpful thought to keep in mind. If you are holding back because you don't want to face the truth of a situation, or there's an email coming and you want to check it but you don't want to check it, just remind yourself, truth is not afraid of questions. I am not afraid. And just see whatever it is and embrace it, because God is embracing you. And so really you have nothing to fear. So just as I said, if somebody withdraws their love or friendship and because they don't want your attention anymore, then give it to somebody who does. And that's how, tying it back to the saints, that's where the saints come from, that they give their love according to the person's wish for it, not even their capacity. Because you could say, well, that's not fair. Somebody has a great capacity because of so many lifetimes, and somebody else doesn't because of less lifetimes. That's always true, and there's not a darn thing we can do about it. So, who cares? That's like saying, could you do something about gravity? And also, I don't like to inhale oxygen. Sorry, these are the rules of the game. But from where we are, what are the useful questions? That we increase our capacity by increasing our desire for that love. By loving primarily. The more we give love, the more we receive. That's one, basic law. The other is to be interested, to put your mind, for example, on your guru, more than we have been. Have pictures of him everywhere. Because that way, no matter what mood you're in, when you're in a bad mood, whatever direction you look in, you kind of, oh, there he is saying, cheer up. Well, I don't want to cheer up right now. Whoop, there he is again saying, no, I meant it. Cheer up. Okay. Well, all right, I'm outnumbered here. You see, every direction you look, there's the guru going, come on now. Look up, as that beautiful line in Swamiji's song, Come Gather Round. He says, come gather round, let joy sing out today. Dawn now is breaking, and the mountains say, its only light can make the darkness run. Lift up your head, greet the rising sun. Just that thought, lift up your head, lift up your gaze, certainly, but just lift up your head. You see, just open your heart, greet the rising sun. Because really it's only that light that heals us, and that light will heal us as soon and as much as we open to it. And it's not just abstract, I meditate and therefore I grow spiritually, I think. No, it does happen. Sometimes we have to introspect into a hurt and understand, why do I feel this way? What if this would happen? Would that help me heal? Trying on different things to see if we can get to the root cause of our suffering. It's always a wrong thought, and the wrong thought is almost always an attachment, an expectation, which is also an attachment. We read the affirmation for non-attachment and practiced it together. What's the opposite of non-attachment? Not just attachment. Sri Yukteswarji describes it as blind tenacity. And this was a phrase from the Holy Science, his book that we were enjoying particularly, and a few friends were sharing how much that just resonated with them. The opposite of non-attachment. Blind tenacity, hanging on dearly and blindly, thinking that this existence, reality, has any lasting worth, has any purpose of its own, has any substance. He said it's just completely false. Another time he said, Yoganandaji said, my guru, Sri Yukteswarji said, people are hypnotized by their own experience. And I forget what he said after that, and something like they can't see clearly or something, but hypnotized. We go through the same thing every day, and we tend to think that then this is reality. Is that clear? Look at how we're all used to this lockdown thing. We're all used to Zoom. I mean, how many times did you use Zoom before this whole thing started? And now it's a lifeline. And we're more or less accepted that, we're in our homes and all these things. I heard some people in Chennai got arrested for taking their morning walks, and there was much ado made about that because even the citation was taking morning walk and so on. So it's quite something to meditate on. But just walk with a shopping bag. But the other thing is that it is that light can heal us, as I was saying, through our just meditating and opening ourselves to it without thinking too much about what's bothering us. That light can heal us as we introspect and try to shine the light on, help me to see what I'm confused about, lift this darkness from my understanding so I can see clearly why my attitude is wrong, what I'm attached to, what I'm expecting. And why I shouldn't expect it. What's the right attitude? And then another way is to just chant. just sing to God, just bypass the mind and just do it again and again and again until the heart opens, or sing Swamiji's songs. In other words, don't try to address the mind with the mind. Different tools will work on different occasions. Yet another is to serve. Just give to others. And in doing so, we tend to forget about ourselves and take a little vacation out of our own minds. You see, some people are beating against the door saying, I want lockdown to end, or I want to get out of this house, or whatever. Really, they're just trying to escape themselves. You see? And you could argue, no, I'm not trying to escape myself. I'm trying to escape this person. No, I understand. But even then, we're really just trying to escape ourselves. You see? That's why even when people travel, as Swamiji said, you can't get away from that thing you're most trying to leave behind, yourself, your own ego. And so we can, through meditating, through introspection, through serving, we just get a vacation from ourselves. And also in giving, we help to draw more to us. So remember, as Swamiji says in the reading here, that the divine light, pure, calm, liberating, is the only final cure for every kind of delusion, ill health, emotional grief, and spiritual ignorance. Master bless you.